everyone. Welcome to the Horror Room. I'm Travis Bruce, and today, look, I got a returning guest. He's a director. He has two projects in the works right now. One is called Showdown in Secret City, and the other one is called Lou's Last Stop.
Ooh.
And my man, the Funk Master V himself, Vinny Vineyard. Vinny, welcome back to the Horror Room.
Well, you know, baby, when they get two guys from Baltimore up in the mix, it's going to be a hell of a show. Somebody's going to wind up with a knife wound before this interview's over, I think.
Or hooked on heroin, one or the other.
Or maybe we'll share a crab boil and we'll call it even. It's some crab cakes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we definitely got to do that. So, Vinny, listen, man, you are busy, man. You're pumping out projects left or right. You're doing your wrestling thing. So, listen, let's jump to the first project, Showdown in Secret City. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, we're excited about this. When we were making our first horror comedy back in 2000 because of COVID, one of the guys, and again, Big and Funky Production is this big group of people, wrestlers, burlesque dancers, furries, drag queens, comedian, magicians, musicians, all these people, theater actresses, and we all kind of get together and help each other make these projects. And one of the guys, who's one of the main dudes in our little think tank, came up with this. He said, we should do a sketch, because we were doing a lot of sketches back then before we were doing movies. And he said, we ought to do a sketch about AI. And I was like, what, artificial intelligence? I mean, this was like 5 years ago now, almost 5 years ago now. And he's like, yeah, man, the AI at that time, 5 years ago, wrote this script for a Batman play that was absolutely ridiculous. And it was actually a legitimate thing. And I said, we started kicking around the idea because we just released The Hike back in 2021 and we were shooting it in 2020. And I said, we can make a series of these things about the South, about the Appalachian South. And I said, we could make a movie about AI in Oak Ridge, because a lot of people, people saw a lot of Oppenheimer, last year, the movie that everybody went crazy for. And Oak Ridge was where they made the atom bombs. They stored 2 of them there. And there's a legend that there's 3. So even though we're making a lot of these horror movies and horror comedies about the legends and lore of the Appalachian South and Great Smoky Mountains, there's a lot of mystery with Oak Ridge. In fact, when it was originated, they didn't tell anybody what it was. Nobody really knew what they were working on. Some people thought they were working for the phone company. They just created this city, and people had these really specific jobs, and they would go in, but nobody knew really what was going on, or not everybody. And so they thought, well, are we working on a biological weapon, or are we working for the phone company? Are we doing something innocuous for the military? And they didn't realize they were making giant atom bombs that would change history and change our place and our position in the world, basically. And so that's in Tennessee, right outside of Knoxville, which is right near the Smoky Mountains. So we decided to make a horror comedy about what if AI, the Oak Ridge supercomputer, which at one time was, and it's still like 4th, the biggest computer and the most powerful computer in the world. What if they were deciding to decommission it, and to stay alive, the Oak Ridge supercomputer decided it wanted to make movies so people would appreciate it and keep it alive, for lack of a better term. So in this movie, we're kind of encroaching upon the age-old battle of man versus machine, the fear of technology, all the Luddite in every one of us, And so it's a comedy probably first and a science fiction horror second, but it's basically what if a computer fooled some filmmakers into making a movie that it wrote. And I won't spoil much of the movie, but we make a movie that the AI wants to make. It's absolutely terrible. However, it becomes a worldwide sensation. It becomes the highest rated movie of all time. And at that point, we're like, no, this will not stand. So the filmmakers in the movie try to usurp the robot. So it there's a little bit of Maximum Overdrive in this movie. There's a lot of Kevin Smith in this movie. There's some science fiction. There's a lot of comedy, Naked Gun, Airplane, The Office in a way, because it's kind of a mockumentary too. So there's a lot of flavors into this one, and we're in the middle of shooting. We're about halfway done, and really thrilled with how it's coming along. It's a funny movie so far.
Love it. Now, because I mean, listen, as a creator, right? Like I've been a YouTube creator. I've seen that YouTube is demonetizing people who are using creators who are using AI to do their fucking videos, which I'm so happy of, because those things were getting millions of fucking views, and someone who's actually like me, or actually putting time and effort. I'm up at 11 o'clock at night doing interviews, and I'm not getting close to that. So, I mean, is that something that you're worried about as a filmmaker, even though this is a plot to your movie? Is that something that you're worried about as a filmmaker? Because it seems like more creators, whether it be authors, filmmakers, YouTubers, are using more and more AI, and to me, it's lazy.
It's awful. I mean, AI is useful in a lot of ways. You want to draw up a will. You want to put a cover letter on a resume. You want to help with a resume. That's all fine. But to put out created final content that AI created and call it your own, I think that's atrocious. I mean, my daughter's an artist. She quit fucking with art, and she's great. She's great. I know everybody says my daughter's an artist. I think everybody has a daughter that's an artist. My daughter was great. She actually had artwork hanging in Sam Jones, who was Flash Gordon's house. He loved her stuff. So, I mean, but she has lost her zest, because she's like, I can't compete. AI is going to just defeat everybody. And you've seen the problem that we've had is that AI has gotten so much more competent in the last 2 years. It takes a long time to make a movie. And, now we've been sitting on this thing for 4.5 years, and now we're starting to make it. But AI used to be ridiculous, like at 7 fingers. And, you remember the old gif of like Will Smith trying to eat spaghetti, and it was like, but now you're fooling old people now who think, I saw the AI with Hulk Hogan dying, with Brooke Hogan talking about.
I saw it too.
And old people are going to believe that that's real, and dumb people. And here in a couple of years, there's going to be smart people who are like, I don't know if that's real or not.
I can't tell sometimes. Sometimes I can't tell. I'm like, is this an AI or is it not?
Well, the thing that's scary to me is, let's say I get a divorce with my wife, and she goes, well, he had sex with the entire Baltimore Ravens defense. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And in court, she presents this AI video of where Ray Lewis is ramming me from behind. And they're like, turn that off, you sicko. Give her everything. And I'm like, this is AI. What are you talking about? I mean, we're going to get, that's a comical way to put it, but I think we're going to get to a way to, where Ed Reed and Ray Lewis banging some dude and him losing his kids, they're going to be some form of that is going to be, it's going to come down the pike at some point, man. So I think it's scary, and I don't like it. So I've told a couple people before, this is my middle finger. I'm the stage coach guy, and this is my middle finger to the train going by back in the late 19th century. This is just my way of saying I hate you. And I think AI, and again, I don't think I'm a boomer doing this or saying this, but I think AI is going to change basically what it means to be human in a lot of ways. And it's going to change relationships. And I understand, there's a lot of things that we're progressing on as this country and as a race or a species. And, but this is something that scratches my head. It's like, well, I don't know about this one. This is a kooky one. So this is a fun way to look at it before the damn wheels fly off the bus. And then probably in 10 years, nobody will laugh at this thing because it's going to be too much like real life.
Yeah, because I mean, I even saw like Indeed, the website you go on looking for jobs. they laid off a whole bunch of their fucking employees because they're going towards AI. I mean, how ironic is that? The company that is all about helping people find jobs lay off people because of AI.
Yeah, that's happening too. So the good news is with everything with technology the way it is, there's always an escape hatch. If people are forward thinking, people who are intelligent, there's always a way to not only keep a job or uh, stay employed, but there's ways to benefit. You know, there's going to be people that realize I can make money with AI, and they'll be able to provide for their families. But a lot of the people who are just regular, lunch pail, get up at 6 a.m. types, they're going to have a hard time figuring this out because there's going to be, I own a transportation company, and part of that is a small taxi fraction. And I don't think it'll happen here because the roads are too dangerous down south and where I live in the mountains. But, in big cities, there's going to be taxi hacks lose their job. There's going to be people who use Uber and Lyft so they can kind of be their own boss. They're going to lose their jobs a little bit. So, I mean, there's going to be automated vehicles at some point, truck drivers. So, I don't know.
Truck drivers definitely are. I mean, in the next 10 years, to be a truck driver, because there's a liability to as an employer to hire humans as a truck driver because they can't sleep. They're falling asleep behind the wheel. They're on cocaine. They're on God knows what, and they're more and more going towards.
I just saw an 8-car crash today. I mean, and it was there was a truck driver involved at the crux of it. So, but again, I'm not somebody who's crying about it because I do think we're I live in a place that's technologically advanced, but also the topography is such a cluster. These trucks, I don't know if a lot of them will be can go through the hills of Tennessee and North Carolina without flying off the mountain quite yet.
Yeah.
You lose signal quite easily. And I think Elon Musk, what's that thing he put up in Starlink? That's not rocking and rolling like they thought it was. There's still a lot of problems with Starlink. So I don't know. Technology is it's going to get there at some point, but right now we're going to be all right for a little while.
Okay. Do you think Elon Musk is human?
I just think he's a weird guy, man. I just I don't know who or if you've ever ran into anybody who's extremely rich. The people of this world, and it's scary to think that they influence politics so readily, but the people of this world who are extremely rich, and I don't mean a millionaire, I'm talking about oligarchs and stuff. These are the dumbest human beings and the most vapid and empty souls you will ever meet. They're not really humans. And so I understand when people go, hey, is that guy a human being? They don't understand anything. I know Jeffrey Wright, who is he's Janet Jackson's manager. He used to be. He's Incubus's manager. He's Justin Timberlake's manager. I mean, he's one of these guys. He's very successful. And I won't tell you who, but you could probably guess. But one day they were going to put together some sort of party, him and this famous actor and a famous musician that everybody in America has heard of. So it's one of the most famous people on the planet. He was like, let's put together, they were having some sort of meeting at this particular person's house. Let's throw a spread together so everybody can have some snacks and eat. And that person was like, well, how do we do that? And he goes, well, we go to the grocery store. Well, how do you go to the grocery store? You get in a car, you drive to where the store is. Well, how do you get the food there? You go inside and you pick it out. Well, how do you pay for it? And this is a real person, I would imagine in their 40s at this point or 50s. And they're just so dumb. So, yeah, to answer your question, he's a real guy. He's a knucklehead. I mean, the thing is, he's about to be so rich, he could probably help so much with people in poverty and stuff. He could be Batman. He could fight crime. He could literally be Batman or Iron Man, and he could go out and help people beaten up. And he's just worried about, you know, our politics and all his weird children and all this stuff. So I don't know. He trying to populate Mars. I just, brother, just spend your money on human beings or whatever. But he won't do that, I don't think.
I think he's an alien. I'm still, you know, convinced that
He's trying to go home, huh?
Yeah, he's trying to go home. He wants us all to go to his home, which is then we're going to be screwed once we get there.
That's an idea for a movie.
Yes, that's a great idea for a movie.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty good.
So listen, when you make a movie that's, you know, that's as crazy as this, you know, as fun as this, when it comes to selecting cast, how hard is that?
I write, me and my partner Big Luke, he's a 7 foot tall. He's my tag team partner when we used to wrestle. He doesn't wrestle anymore because he was getting to the point. Big guys just constantly get hurt at the end of their careers. They can't help it. So he would get an injury every match. For the last 3 or 4 years, he was getting an injury almost every match. So he's retired from the sport, but he's still a friend. He's still my writing partner. And he comes up with a lot of these ideas. We write for the people that we know. For example, there's a Canadian, what in the hell? There's a comedian, a magician. He's an American, but he's a comedy magician. Really funny. His name's Danny Whitson. If you ever have a chance to see him, you should go see him. And his delivery is almost Sam Kinison like. He's really short and he's redheaded, but he's like ah. So I was like, writing this script, you know, we've anthropomorphically made the computer almost have human personality, like he's on a screen, and but his handler, I just thought it was funny for some reason to have a German engineer in the middle of Oak Ridge National Laboratory who's kind of curating and leading around the Oak Ridge supercomputer's AI, but have him just this excitable guy who has a deathly fear of being assumed to be a Nazi. So he's angry a lot. He doesn't like Americans very much. He thinks Germany's superior to Americans, but he's not a Nazi. And so a lot of times when somebody says, hey, do you like this idea? And then one of the cast members goes, not so much. He'll be like, what was that you said? Not so much? Nazi much? You think I'm much like a Nazi? No, I didn't say that. Or like, how short do you think our little person actor needs to be? About that tall. 999. Don't do that. You know, so he's like excitable, but his delivery was perfect. So I knew making this guy a German who was just too excitable about anything Nazi or anything to do with the Holocaust or anything, I knew that he would be perfect. So you come up with, there's a guy named Tommy Mack out in Los Angeles who looks like a good-looking version of Billy Idol. He's got the platinum blonde hair. I'm like, he kind of looks like Max Headroom. He's into old, like, retro tech, like Atari and stuff. And I was like, he would be perfect as the computer. Like, he's in this box like Max Headroom. And he's wonderful as the computer. And so you just kind of take, you know, when you make a movie with as small as budget as we have, you have this thing called asset allocation where you're like, what do we have? We have funny people. We live in the South, so we have wonderful looking, you know, God's creation all around us. So let's do, a lot of our movies are outside because it's beautiful. You know, we win awards for cinematography. All you got to do is hold the camera up to a tree in the sunset, and you know, God takes care of the rest of it. You know, so you take these things. We know a lot of professional wrestlers. We can have really good looking fights. Whatever it is, we have pretty girls. Put the pretty girl in front of the camera. People like looking at pretty girls in front of a pretty sunset. So you just take stock of what you have, and when you find good people, you just latch on to them.
Yeah, because I always wonder that, you know, as a filmmaker, you know, finding, you know, actors, actresses to, you know, especially if you're going something off the wall crazy, because like not all actors and actresses want to they want serious and like it's hard, especially we do like a horror comedy, to find actors and actresses who want to be a part, but also indulge into the humor and the silliness.
Well, comedy is much harder than drama, and I think comedy is a lot harder than being in a horror. To be funny with a camera in your face is very difficult, and I think a lot of times that's because if I made a movie about somebody dying of cancer, I could cast you and me in there. Looks sad. Your friend's dying of cancer. Well, it's just like it's not that difficult. And I'm not trying to denigrate any of that, but it's harder to be like, okay, now we're making a movie that you're a kung fu man and I'm a crazed ex sex offender, and we got to stop a diamond heist, but it's got to be funny, or whatever. And it's just like, okay, it's like how do I make that funny? It's a different thing. So it is tough to find actresses. And again, I know this is a horror podcast. Girls are normally they're afraid of the casting couch situation. We live in a day and age where everybody's got all that information. So they're afraid, okay, we got somebody in their late 40s trying to cast me for a movie. Is this just going to turn into a Harvey Weinstein moment? So you have to use a lot of your reputation or friends where they're like, oh, these guys are harmless, or they just want to have fun, and these movies are legitimate. And when you start making a bunch of movies, they can go and look and go, okay, well, these guys aren't, this isn't like I'm going to show up at some guy's house. There's going to be 3 weird fat guys with their mouths agape. Yeah. Their mouth, hey, it's a pretty girl. So, getting girls is kind of tough. And, we always kind of like to have boob jokes. And so sometimes, girls are like, well, you're going to have to pay me for that. It's like, we don't have a big budget. So we have to figure out ways around it or find girls that will boob for free or whatever. But, sometimes that's tough. But we are kind of like a big family. And so people see that there's a lot of safety with that too. So, we're not weirdos or incels, or we're not desperate to see women or anything like that. So, but yeah, it can be challenging. There's, and again, when you're dealing with actors and actresses, sometimes, you're doing a movie that's pretty weird / blue or whatever, and somebody finds Jesus. They're like, I don't know about what we just shot. I'm like, you signed the paper. I'm sorry. It's perpetuity. It's fine. Or somebody gets a jealous boyfriend or something like that.
I'm getting married, Benny. I can't be out there with my titties out anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. I got children. Well, I'm sorry. Tell them it's not you. I don't know what to do.
So you're working on another project, which is called Lose Last Stop. Tell us a little bit about that, because there was a name change as well.
Yeah, there's always a name change. There's we were trying to change. We don't like the name Showdown Secret City. We just couldn't find one better. Lose Last Stop. Now nobody knows about this. So anybody watching this, we're breaking this. This was actually going to be a surprise. And nobody and we do have a little fan base. Just a lot of it has to do with our wrestling fans or the people that are fans of our music careers or whatever. But Lose Last Stop is there's a place in the Smoky Mountains called the River Styx, and it's the only place in the Smoky Mountains where it uses a Greek name. Now I'm doubting myself. I don't know if it's Greek, whatever River Styx was from. I don't know if it's Greek mythology but everything else in the Smoky Mountains is like named French or Cherokee or English. It's the only place, and there's a lot of paranormal activity about the River Styx. So this is a story about 2 guys who work in an all-night Southern gas station, and we spend the evening with them while all these people are traversing to and fro and sometimes they're not really people. Sometimes they're like creatures. And we have a lot of different types of interactions with people who are seemingly lost, trying to find their place and they share some horrible stories and some funny stories, but it's kind of like a Twilight Zone, um, with different sort of episodic characters with different types of stories, and the mystery of the thing is trying to figure out exactly what's happening and exactly what this gas station here is, and that's located near the River Styx. So we're excited about that one. I think that one's going to be maybe one of these two are going to be by far the best movies we've created so far, because we really like the writing. We really like the how we're getting better with cinematography, and I think these movies are going to be good and they're going to be funny.
Listen, man, I'm looking forward. You know, I'm a huge fan of yours. Now,
Thank
listen,
you.
people. Now, let's switch tones. Let's talk about wrestling. I'm a wrestling fan. I know you're a wrestling fan. What the fuck is going on with WWE? Have they lost their stuff?
Well, I got to be honest with you. I'm a wrestler, and I love wrestling, and I've always said this too. Like, when wrestling is great, there's nothing better than wrestling on the planet. When wrestling is bad, there's probably nothing worse than wrestling on the planet. And so I haven't been watching the WWE very much for a long time. I do know they were hitting on a pretty good streak when Cena turned heel. But again, every time, this is what frustrates me. So Cena turns heel on Cody Rhodes, and that's probably 6-7 months ago or whatever it was now. And it changed the world. But they had Travis Scott in there for the Travis Scott rub. And you have to know how to move like a wrestler. And he looks so awkward. He had his Mark belt in there. He had no, and then like he's trying to hit Cody Rhodes. He busts the guy's eardrum.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you've got to learn how to perform. And they get these guys sometimes in there. And to me, they expose the business. I mean, they're having this great moment. Travis Scott is not needed. And it's weird, too. It's like the WWE is kind of out of touch. I mean, to me, I thought Travis Scott was kind of cancer at this point because of what happened at that show where those people died, and he kind of seemed callous about it. So it's kind of like, why are they wanting to be anywhere around Travis Scott? I mean, I thought he was, but yeah. So I mean, sometimes, dude, that's the thing when you're watching wrestling, you're like, who is, some writer who really doesn't know what wrestling is probably got part of the book. And when things go stupid, that's when you're like, okay, this is somebody who doesn't know a lot about wrestling, who's made this program. I remember years ago when Bray Wyatt, is that the guy that's got he's passed away,
yep.
But
Mm-hmm.
I remember he had this match at one of the WrestleManias against, it was the one where Blanca Belair won the championship the first night. It was about 3 or 4 years ago. And that was a great match, by the way, Blanca Belair's match. But Bray Wyatt had some sort of like large Christmas present show up to the ring, and a girl came out like a jack-in-the-box, and she had blood coming out of her eyes or something. And then the guy, Randy Orton, just beat him with the RKO from behind. And I'm like, what the hell are we watching? Or that same one where it was New Day, and we're having an African drum match. They never once explained what the African drums were. They didn't even use them. They just put drums around the ring. And it was like, what? And so when I see shit like that, I'm just like, man, this is a bunch of weird shit. Like who? But then, Blanca Belair, especially when she used to use that hair whip, man. Woo, man, she hit that girl so rough. But that was a hell of that was a hell of a match. And so, I mean, sometimes they hit a home run and sometimes they strike out, man. That's the thing about wrestling.
Yeah. And I grew up on wrestling. My mom was actually, she introduced me to wrestling and horror.
Wrestling was a very Baltimore thing.
Well, I was from North Carolina, so I was,
North Carolina, it's big in North Carolina too.
Yeah, WCW, NWA, that was big. I was more of an NWA, WCW fan than a WWF fan at the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's a very Baltimore. That was about, Baltimore was about the most northeast that the NWA would hit and was superior or more popular than the WWF.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I used to love wrestling back then. I mean, but I mean, even though the WWF was cartoony and Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior, but the WCW NWA had that serious vibe with Sting, Luger. So I loved wrestling up until the whole John Cena. I guess I don't know what era that was. I think it was called the Ruthless Aggression. The Ruthless Aggression. I kind of toned out of wrestling for years and years and
Yeah.
years, and then like during COVID, believe it or not, I started picked up watching wrestling again, and I started enjoying it. I was like, okay, this is good. Especially the whole Roman Reigns, the
They
that
did
whole angle with the um, what are it
the
called?
family or whatever, the
Yeah,
tribe or
yeah,
something. Yeah.
the tribal chief stuff.
Yeah.
That was great. And then like, but it seems like since TKO, which is a company that owns UFC, has bought out WWE, it seems like to me like this seems like so much fucking marketing and so much. Let's go ahead and put Travis Scott and just go put Jelly Roll. There's advertisements all in the fucking ring. Like it just seems like money people are in charge of WWE wrestling or in wrestling and not actual wrestler creators and actual wrestling fans.
I mean, to me, my opinion is that all changed at WrestleMania 1. I mean, that's when you had Liberace and Cyndi Lauper and Mr. T and all that stuff back in the 80s. That was, Hogan had the belt for so long because they couldn't kill the Golden Goose. I mean, you can't blame them. They got to make money, but it was all about marketing at that point.
Yeah.
And that's what, kind of ruined Star Wars too. I mean, we could get on a big Star Wars thing where, Star Wars was a movie and Empire Strikes Back was a sequel and they had toys. And all of a sudden before Return of the Jedi, it became a toy situation first, movies second. And I'm in the rare minority. I think the first two movies are almost perfect. And you can almost, all the other movies and all the other shows and stuff are almost stinky compared. I mean, it's just, they've almost ruined everything because of the marketing. If they could go back and figure out how to capture the magic of the first two. So applying that to wrestling too. How do we make an action figure? How do we make a t-shirt, sell, and who's going to, that's the first thing is how can we sell things? How can we get people into movies? How can we get this guy to where he can speak? He looks like $1 million. How can we get him to speak so he can be in our action movie about a Marine? So that's wrestling is an afterthought.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you can see that in the ring. And to me, and again, I'm a wrestler, and when I was training, I would watch World of Sport, which was the British version where they would have rounds, and the psychology was so thick. If you watch World of Sport, if you're a wrestling fan, you're sick of this stuff, watch the old British stuff with Johnny Saint and these really strict weight classes, and whether the heel was the guy that got angry. It wasn't even a bad guy. He would get in a move and he would constantly be getting out wrestled, and he'd hit the ring, and everybody in the audience, because everybody believed what they were seeing was 100% legitimate. You didn't need like somebody with a cane or a crazy manager. So I mean, if you go back to that stuff, and also wrestling at the Chase in St. Louis and all this old stuff we used to watch, it was just dripping with psychology. Now it hard to watch now. Some of it, maybe not all of it, but some of it slower. There was a guy whose finishing move was a snap mare. Like some of it would be hard to take in now for a newer audience, but the psychology was all about the sport being presented as a legitimate sport. And that's where the money was made, is how could you bring people in here to see this guy that everybody hated to get his butt kicked,
Mm-hmm.
And now it's about selling thermoses and lunchboxes and figures and video games and stuff like that.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I feel like horror is going that way too a little bit. Well, it's been going that way. I remember, like, I think the downfall of the Nightmare on Elm Street. I grew up in the '80s, and I was born in the '80s, grew up in the '80s, and I was a huge Freddy Krueger fan. And then you can see that the movies were getting worse as soon as they started making cartoons and video games. And I was a Freddy Krueger fan. I still had the lunchbox. I had the thermos. kids, it was marketing to kids a fucking violent horror movie, but and it became a cartoon, it became a video game, became action figures that I still have, and the movies got worse and worse over time.
Anytime you do sequels, no matter what the genre is, I mean, the saving grace to me last probably 8 years ago was A24.
Yeah,
And I was like, A24, here they come. These are little guys, independent movies. These are interesting ideas. And it seems like, I don't know who put money into A24, but I just watched this thing that's got Jenny Ortega and Paul Rudd in it, The Death of a Unicorn. Have you seen that?
no.
It's just brand new A24 movie. It sucks. I mean, it just is absolutely terrible, man. And
24 has been bad for the last 2 years. Blumhouse has been awful for the last 5 years.
and so, man, that's why we make movies for about $5,000 a movie. And after we release these two, we still have two more. So we're going to make 7 movies about the Smoky Mountains, the legends and lore. The Smoky Mountain Chronicles is what we call them. So that after we get done with these two this year, we'll be at 5. And I'm going to Hollywood, and I'm going to say I've got a couple people on the inside, and I'm going to pitch all 7 movies and say these stories are excellent. These ideas are excellent. These are 7 movies, and there's like themes in each one. Like there's a tchotchke, which is a mojo that's in every movie. There's a skunk in every movie. They're all connected in some ways. Like somebody will be in the second movie is playing with a robot, which will be the movie, the robot that we're actually doing right now. So all this stuff's been planned out. They'll be turning on a radio station in one movie. They're listening to the radio station. It was the second movie is about a radio station. They'll be listening to that thing. They'll be talking about sending their kids to summer camp. Our third movie is about a summer camp. So, I mean, they're all connected and they're all different movies. And I'm like, if you take care of these ideas, they're all about legends and lore, cryptids, ghost boogeyman stories from the South. Everybody's still scared of the South. People are like, don't go to Appalachia. You'll get blah, blah, you'll get your head chopped off. I was just in Appalachia today performing a wedding. It was beautiful. But people still think it's like the Wild West down here. Well, let them think that, And, I think we're going to pitch these ideas. These are 7 dynamite ideas, and they're all about cryptids and legends and lore and things that have happened and things people have seen. And I think in the right hands, it could be in our hands if they had money, if we had some money. But like in the right hands, I think these movies are good on their own and they're funny and they're what they are. But I would like them to be retold and put out into the universe where everybody can see these movies instead of just people who are hip on the big and funky lexicon, basically. Like if it was something that was released by A24 or Blumhouse, these 7 movies, I think people will be blown away by these stories. I think these stories are great. So, and they're based, I mean, we write stories about these things, but it's the legends and the lore. And that's the thing about Hollywood right now. There's not a lot of creativity right now. And they keep doing sequels and they keep going back to the same scraping the bottom of the barrel. I mean, there's no movie about Spearfinger. We made one. There's no story about religious dogma on Y2K and Christ coming back and zombies killing everybody, the people that didn't go up with Jesus. There's no movie about like that. There's no movie about a kid having to stay in the woods his whole life and fighting off demons with his talking teddy bear. There's nothing about the Oak Ridge supercomputer becoming a sentient being and wanting to make movies. I mean, there's nothing like this. A gas station on the edge of River Styx, the Rabbit Man from Unicoi County, which is a real story, and we've got a zombie movie too. That's the other thing. We've never revealed that, but our last movie is a zombie movie, and there's a zombie movie that we've come up with that nobody's ever kind of come up with this idea, and it's based on a secret laboratory in the Smoky Mountains. There's a secret government lab that people have actually seen, and they've moved it a couple times, but it's based on that too. So, all these ideas, I think they're all fresh. All of them are interesting ideas. And I just wish people took more chances with young filmmakers and aspiring filmmakers and put some money into promoting original storytelling instead of doing a sequel, or hey, can we do the Munsters again or whatever.
Yeah. Or I know what you did last summer.
Right. Number 19.
Big piece of shit. By the way, listen, this is off topic, but it was not on topic, but off topic. Do you, because we roll in the same indie film groups and stuff on Facebook. Don't you question since sometimes we see filmmakers that you enjoy their movies, you trust their what's it called, and the movies that they're into or the recommendations for movies, like the big budget movies, and you're like, how the hell was anybody into the I Know What You Did last summer reboot? Like, there was, like, I heard numerous filmmakers that I trust their opinion and say, oh my God, this was the greatest movie ever. And I'm like, really? I know we did last summer, and because I was like, okay, I guess I have to go see this now. But I see that, and I have to start questioning, like, what is good now? Like, have we as a society, because we're so used to mediocrity that we something that's a complete could have been 10 years ago a complete piece of garbage that we see is great now.
I think when people watch, it's like when you hear a song for the first time, when you see wrestling, when you see a piece of art, it can be interpreted in different ways. What's the one that's called Let's All Go to the World's Fair? Is that, do you remember that one? That was a thing that was the person came out with, oh my God, something about the TV Glow. Do you remember that came out last year? I saw the TV Glow.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Well, it's like a transgender director. He made or she made a movie called Let's All Go to the World's Fair, which was a very low budget. And again, if I could take this and say this is the best horror movie of all time, and if you watched it, Travis, you would be like, I think this thing sucks. But the idea was interesting, I think. And I just think the beauty is in the eye of beholder.
But that's different, Vinny. Yeah, because that's an indie creative project. I'm talking about like when you take something that's a reboot piece of crap that it like big budget Hollywood. It's not an original idea at all. It's just something that.
Well, that's to me what makes a movie good is originality first, and that's why I liked A24 for so long. Have you ever seen the movie Lamb?
I have not seen Lamb.
Oh, well, I don't want to overblow it. But Lamb is weird, and it's a thing where a lot of people who'd be sitting there smoking a cigar watching a movie, at one point they'd be like, fuck this is stupid. But A24 is pretty good like that. They did for a while come out with stuff that was at least interesting. It's like Kevin Smith. I feel like he's lost his way, but he's trying. Like Tusk was interesting. It wasn't the best movie in the world. There was like a thing I'd like to have talked to him and said, this is the problem I have with Tusk, is kind of in the middle here. But Tusk was pretty interesting. Yoga Hosers, he tried. It failed. Even this thing I was talking about, Death of a Unicorn, I will give it props for trying to be different. Mm-hmm. And I think that is what I respect, is when I see something I've never seen before.
Same here.
This sequel, we're rebooting a sequel. We're gonna have you're rebooting a sequel. Good God, how? And there's just, I know why they do it. It's because it's easy money, and they know, okay, Fast and Furious, no matter how big of a piece of crap this is, we'll make $1 billion. So we're going to do another one. I get it. It's a movie, it's and when they make a Fast and a Furious, they can make a couple of these other scraggly movies nobody will ever watch, just to make good movies or things they want to do. And then they'll release another superhero movie, and then they can fund all these other little things. So I get that. But yeah, when it comes to the horror and big money, you just have to kind of pick and choose. I think there's a lot of, what was the one last year, the late night show?
Late Night with the Devil. Great movie.
I
But
like that.
that was a low budget movie. Yeah,
But horror doesn't need. It just needs good ideas. Horror does
yeah,
not need a lot of money, man.
it really doesn't.
When you start putting a lot of money into it, it's when it's Late Night with the Devil was good. Just a really fun, stupid movie. And at the end of it,
Hmm.
you're like, I thought the Pearl trilogy was pretty good. I especially
X
thought
trilogy and the
yeah.
X trilogy, one of the best trilogy horror series I've seen in years.
Oh, it's all that Mia
Years.
chick, man. That chick was,
Yeah.
I mean, she was dynamite, man. So, I mean,
There was another A24 movie, and I can't think of the name. It's something Bones. It was about this girl who's a cannibal or something, and she meets this boy. It's like a romantic horror movie, and it is graphic. Wishful Bones or something, or it's
Bones and All.
Bones and All. Yes, Bones and All. Great
Yeah,
A24 movie.
yeah, I saw that. Yeah. That's yeah. I mean, so that they
Something
do.
new.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, that's a good way to and that's my way of making so if anybody out there is watching his program and never heard of me before, if you watch the Big and Funky movies, and again this is like Bones and All. I love, in my philosophy, my favorite horror movie of all time is The Audition, which is that Japanese movie.
Hmm.
And The Audition is like an Adam Sandler, Drew Barrymore, 50 First Dates rom-com for about 70% of the movie.
Hmm.
And then you're like, what? So that's how I like making movies. WJHC is like WKRP. It's like a bunch of yuckle knucklehead chuck goofy people at a freaking radio station. And then Y2K hits. Everybody's worried about the computers. Return to Christ. All the good people leave. Everybody is left to deal with the demons and all the weird stuff. So then it's a horror movie, and they have to defend the Southern Gospel radio station, in our last movie that we released, Camp Smokey. It's a movie about a guy surviving, and he's grown up to be a giant man and he talks to his teddy bear because he's kind of simple. But he's a behemoth, and he's ripping the heads off demons. Like, when have you seen a guy that can actually kill the bad guys with ease? And then he falls in love with a demon, and then all of a sudden the flavor changes. I like that Dusk Till Dawn moment. I like that Sinners moment where the movie changes and there's a tonal shift. That's what I like in a movie.
I do too.
A lot of times in horror movies, they present these people that are totally unlikable, and you don't care if they live or die. And
Yeah.
I like it when you're emotionally invested. Our first movie, The Hike, is about a pretty likable couple, and who are having kind of marriage problems, but she's hot and he's funny, and they like each other a whole lot. And then they get involved in this whole scary ass thing in the woods, and they can't escape the woods because they're lost, and there's magic in the woods and shit like that. So I like when there's a tonal change, and that's kind of what I dig. And so that's my flavor, and that's kind of how we put a lot of these. Not every one of them will be like that, but at least, and in this movie that we're doing, the one about Oak Ridge and the AI, the first 11 minutes is a serious, theatrical, big money Hollywood looking sketch or a mini movie about John Henry. You know who John Henry is, the guy the railroad worker who took on a steam drill and died of a heart attack after he beat it. I've always loved that story, but it's pretty applicable, and it's like foreshadowing. But it's so even in this movie, people are going to be sitting there for 11 minutes going, what the hell are we watching? This is about John Henry, and then all of a sudden it's going to explode after about 11 minutes in. I like making people kind of sit through my own insanity, but that's kind of the fun thing about making movies.
It is.
Yeah.
All right, Vinny, where can everyone find you and your work, man?
Well, I just realized this week, and this will help you. Anybody wants to watch our movies, and there's a road comedy that we did with Asai TV. And we're actually doing we're partnering with another company called Super Magic Boy Productions. We're doing a comedy about gig workers, which is about DoorDash people. These are not horror movies, these are comedies. But these will all be on the very front page of Big N, the letter N, Funky Productions, Big N Funky Productions, or funkmasterv.com, bigandfunkyproductions.com. You can actually see every movie on our website. It will either take you to Tubi, or it'll take you to Fawsome, or Reveal TV, or one of these channels. Mainly it's Tubi because they pay the best, and we like getting a little bit of something on the back end in these things. And so if you go there, you can watch all of our movies and read about what we're making. And we also do paranormal television and sketch comedy and travel shows for other networks. You can also go to Big and Funky Productions YouTube page. There's video game stuff. There's ghost stuff. There's stuff about our movies. There's comedy sketches, all sorts of stuff, music. In fact, today I spent most of the day producing a hip hop song for our new movie with 3 talented hip hop artists from the South. Nice. and a vocalist. So, and it's about John Henry. So really cool to hear that kind of match create, and you'll be able to see that. And just, if you go to our website and also follow us on social media, and that way you'll never be left out of the loop, because we do a lot of appearances. We do a lot of shows like Horror Realm podcasts and all that stuff. So you can always see one of us or others, and we are always talking slick city jive.
Love it, brother. Love it. Next time you're in Baltimore, hit me up though, man.
I will. We'll go get a crab omelet or something.
Yeah, so yes, most definitely, man. Crab, whatever, man. Crab tacos, whatever, man.
Just crab on crab. I want crab.
Yeah. Listen, man, it's always a blast to have you on. Listen, everyone, get over to his website. By the way, get over to YouTube, subscribe, share, like, and all that stuff too as well. That's definitely important. All right, everyone. Thank you for coming to another edition of the Horror Room. By the way, subscribe to this channel. I don't say that often. Subscribe. It helps me out tons as well.
Why do people have to say this? I always hate hearing people, hey guys. I hate that when it starts off like that. I hardly ever listen to it. And make sure you like, subscribe, and hit notify. If you like something, people, like, subscribe, hit notify. It helps him out. If you like his stuff, it helps me out. And again, like he's saying, there are 8 million trillion people trying to make headway on YouTube, and it's like less than 0.1% get all the money. People who only have a few thousand subscribers or a few hundred subscribers, they're the ones that need the love. These other people don't. Yes. Give us some love.
Share some love with us.
We're worthy of love. Aren't we worthy of love?
We are. We really are. By the way, I don't say that enough, because I say it sounds dickish when I say subscribe to my channel. So I don't do that often, but I'm doing it now. Subscribe. You have to remind people. You have to, and it's like people don't. They think you don't need it. Yeah. And it's crazy. Of course we need it. We need traction. Yes. Yes. So that we can make big budget Hollywood films, right? Right. That's right. That's right. Well, listen, I'm Travis Spurs, and that's my man, Vinny Funkmaster V. Vineyards. We'll see you next time. Take care.